During the 54th minute of USA versus Paraguay at the 2026 FIFA World Cup, a referee raised a yellow card and pointed it at Ream for simulation, and what followed that moment carries no parallel in the recorded history of this competition. The video assistant referee reviewed the booking, determined it belonged to the wrong player, and transferred the card to Miguel Almiron instead, producing the first live disciplinary transfer in World Cup history. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly what rule made that possible, where it originated, why FIFA introduced it for this specific tournament, and why players and supporters across the competition are now treating it as one of the most damaging additions to association football, officiating in recent memory. You will also understand why the moment involving Ream and Almiron runs bigger than a single yellow card in a single group stage fixture, because what happened on that pitch in Dallas is the clearest illustration of a problem FIFA spent years constructing, and this World Cup is now paying for. Start with the rule itself, because most people watching USA versus Paraguay had no idea it existed before Wednesday afternoon, and that ignorance sits entirely with FIFA's failure to communicate rather than any lack of attention from supporters. Late in 2025, as part of a wider set of video assistant referee refinements ahead of this tournament, FIFA ratified what it officially calls the Mistaken Identity Correction Protocol. The principle is not unreasonable on its face. If a referee cards the wrong player during a live match, if the confusion of a scramble or a challenge leads the official to point at the wrong shirt, the protocol allows the video assistant referee to intervene, identify the correct player from the footage, remove the card from the innocent party, and direct it toward the player who actually committed the offense. Presented in a boardroom in Zurich, that argument probably sounded clean, logical, and entirely fair. What it produces in practice is something else. Almiron went down inside the penalty area, and the referee read the contact as simulation, a diving offense under association football law. Looking up in real time, the official identified the nearest player and booked Ream. The video assistant referee then reviewed the incident and reached two conclusions at once. Ream had not dived, and Almiron had. The card migrated across the pitch, and the detail that made this specific application so explosive was that Almiron was not an innocent bystander caught in a misidentification, but the player who initiated the entire sequence by going down in the first place. He sought a penalty kick he had not earned, and the new protocol followed the evidence back to its source and booked him for it, which reads as either precise justice or an entirely new category of footballing nightmare depending on which touchline you were standing on. Paraguay's technical area came apart almost immediately. Almiron moved straight toward the fourth official, his teammates surrounded the referee, and the argument that followed consumed nearly 4 minutes of competition time that nobody in that stadium knew how to process. And this is where it gets genuinely telling, because in the stands, USA supporters who had every reason to feel satisfied by the outcome were not celebrating. Confusion ran through both ends of the ground because a yellow card visibly moving from one player to another in real time during a World Cup fixture sits so far outside any established understanding of how association football operates that even the people who benefited from the decision found it impossible to follow. That confusion is not a side effect of the rule. The confusion is the rule's central failure, and it matters more than any technical argument about which player received the correct booking. Football's shared grammar, the unspoken contract between every player, referee, coach, and supporter in a stadium, runs on a simple sequence. An offense occurs, a decision lands, play resumes. What the Mistaken Identity Protocol introduced is a secondary decision arriving from a video room that can reverse the first decision and redirect its disciplinary consequences onto a completely different person. The video assistant referee now carries the authority to reach across the pitch and reassign a yellow card wherever the footage points. And it can do this, as Paraguay discovered on Wednesday, at the exact moment when the stakes run highest. When a booking carries potential suspension consequences, when a single card might determine whether a player features in the knockout rounds at all. FIFA calls this accurate application of the laws of the game. What it produced inside a stadium holding 68,000 people was something closer to institutional bewilderment performed in front of a global audience. None of this arrived at the USA versus Paraguay match without warning signs, and that broader context matters enormously. FIFA introduced 11 separate adjustments to video assistant referee protocol for this World Cup, not refinements to an existing system, but new categories of reviewable incident, new intervention thresholds, new rules that players absorbed in the weeks before the tournament rather than across a full competitive season. The mistaken identity protocol attracted the most attention because its application against Paraguay produced the most visible result, but it sits inside a package of changes that officials are now deploying in high-pressure matches before the largest association football audience in the sport's history. And if this kind of coverage is worth your time, the kind that traces where these decisions come from and what they actually mean for the game, subscribing takes about 2 seconds and ensures you see everything here for the rest of this tournament, every development, every controversy, every moment between now and the final in New Jersey. Players across the competition had been building toward a breaking point on the video assistant referee changes for weeks before Wednesday's fixture. Several Paraguay squad members spoke after the match, and their goalkeeper's interview carried the most weight, partly because he delivered it without performance, and partly because 16 years of professional association football had left him with no frame of reference for what he had just witnessed. His experience of matches where VAR reversed goals, canceled red cards, and awarded penalty kicks from angles invisible at match speed had equipped him for almost everything. It had not equipped him for a yellow card changing hands between two players in real time, and his difficulty putting that experience into words functioned as a more powerful criticism than anything delivered in fury from the touchline. Tim Ream's position after the match landed differently from everyone else's. The player whose booking the video assistant referee rescinded found himself unwilling to defend the rule that cleared him, and his words ran careful and precise. A referee's decision, once made on the pitch, carries consequences that belong to the player who receives them, and routing those consequences through a video room and onto a different person changes the relationship between official and sport in a way that extends beyond what technology is supposed to provide. Coming from the person who walked away from the incident without a card, that view carries a weight that FIFA's communications operation will not find easy to dismiss. FIFA's official position is that the protocol operated exactly as designed. A player who committed no bookable offense under the laws of the game was correctly cleared. A player who did commit that offense was correctly sanctioned. The video assistant referee delivered an outcome more accurate than any on-field official could have produced in real time. None of that is factually disputed. And none of it touches the actual problem. Association football has always accepted a ceiling on accuracy, and the sport built its culture around that acceptance as a feature rather than a defect. Offsides missed, fouls uncalled, misidentifications absorbed and moved past. VAR's entire premise challenged that acceptance, arguing that accurate decisions, even slow ones, even disruptive ones, even ones that look strange inside a stadium, beat fast human decisions that are sometimes wrong. That argument has internal consistency. But it only holds if the accurate decisions being produced are readable by the people in the stadium and watching at home, because a yellow card transferring between players in real time does not land as justice to 68,000 supporters. It lands as the match being administered from a room they cannot see, under rules they were never taught, by a process nobody explained to them before kickoff. There is a version of this World Cup where the football itself speaks loudly enough to absorb everything happening around the officiating, and on the evidence of the matches played so far in this competition, that version still exists. When association football at this level runs without interruption, it has delivered what supporters came to see. But the space it needs to breathe is getting smaller, compressed by reviews that take 4 minutes, by a rulebook that expanded in 11 directions before the opening match, by interventions that reassign consequences rather than simply correcting errors. The mistaken identity booking in Dallas on Wednesday will not be the last incident of this kind at this FIFA World Cup, and the question facing the governing body is whether these moments register as evidence that something in the system needs rethinking, or as noise to be managed on the path to a more technically precise game. That question deserves a straight answer, and I want to know where you stand. Not on video assistant referee review in general, because that debate is largely settled, but on this specific rule, a yellow card that can be reviewed, reversed, and placed on a different player in the middle of a live World Cup match. Is that a correction association football needed, or did FIFA take the technology one step past where it belongs? Put your answer in the comments, because this is the kind of argument worth having properly. Like the video if this is the coverage you come here for. Subscribe for everything from this competition between now and the final in New Jersey. Another VAR decision is coming at this World Cup, and the only open question is which match it falls in.